breaking news from KXAN News.
If you are expecting to get on I-35 and its frontage road for the next couple of hours, do be prepared for some delays. We are learning both the northbound and southbound lanes are being closed for an emergency utility line repair.
Road crews do say that the closure should be wrapped up here pretty soon, so be on the lookout though for any delays.
Other news we're following this morning, firefighters in West Austin are clearing out the remaining embers of an older home after it began smoldering.
This all happened on Westlake Drive. Firefighters say no one got hurt there and that failed wiring caused this. KXAN's Brianna Hollis has the latest.
So the good news this morning and with this fire is that no one's hurt and no one's displaced. Westlake Fire Department says one man lives in the home with his dog. They were able to get him somewhere warm while they figured out what exactly they needed to do with the fire, how it was caused. They say this was caused by some kind of electrical issue and it was accidental. Fire Department also says this didn't turn into a fully engulfed situation at any point. There was just some smoldering and they were able to get to the root of the problem pretty quickly. Another thing that we've been talking about, in addition to all the fires that we've covered over the last couple of days, the below freezing temperatures. Fire department says that's absolutely something that they keep in mind. They make sure to have extra trucks on hand so that firefighters can make sure to get in and out, get some time in the warmth. Fire department also says it has been very busy this week and expects that to continue as these freezing temperatures do. In Westlake, Brianna Hollis, KXAN News.
First warning weather.
We want to take you out live over Coda today. Not a cloud in the sky, but that sun is not helping our temperatures at all. You can still see 30 degrees out there right now.
Yeah, if you're heading out to grab some lunch, you're definitely going to want to dress up and bundle up today. Freddie, you're tracking all this for us, and I'm looking back there at that temperature. I felt that out there this morning. A new record low.
A record low. It's the second day in a row that we hit a record low again. This one was originally set back in 2021, and we broke that record, shattered it, if you will, because the temperature was actually 26 degrees. We dropped down to 18 degrees, so well away from where our record was set back. Yesterday was actually at 20 degrees, and we had only broken it by 1 degree because it was 21. So today, much colder out there, and it felt much colder too. And temperatures at this point now at 30 degrees in Austin. We're actually up about 2 degrees there. Lampass is finally up to 23. They're up 3 degrees. Mason at 27. Fredericksburg at 27. San Marcos still not above freezing, 31 degrees. Giddings at 30. So I have full faith that today we will at least get above freezing. Just not very far. I think we're going to get to about 34, 35, and then we're right back down once again. May reach up to 36. So this is the current wind chill. This is your feels like temperature. Still in the teens is what it feels like from Lampasas to San Saba, Mason, and Fredericksburg. It feels like it's 23 in Austin, even though we're at 30 degrees right now. San Marcos, they're 31. It feels like it's 20 down there. In Georgetown, it's 24 degrees. That's your feels like temperature. So the live look out of the Southeast Austin camera circuit of the Americas, still a beautiful blue sky. We have some clouds that are trying to roll into Gillespie County over I-10 right now through Blanco and out towards Hayes County as well in San Marcos. As we look at your rain chances over the next couple of days, they do pick up Friday into Friday night into Saturday and then start to dip back down. So coming up, we're going to be talking about the chance of rain that you're going to get, what type of rain you're going to get, and then the 70s and the horizon. That's all coming up in your first warning weather.
Thanks, Freddie. We want to take you out live to the Texas Capitol because this morning the Texas House introduced its version of a bill that would put taxpayer dollars towards private school tuition. State Representative Brad Buckley filed his plan to create education savings accounts along with 2 other bills that relate to public school financing and accountability. Buckley's ESA bill would provide each eligible student with 85% of the estimated statewide average amount of state and local funding per student for the applicable school year. Students with disabilities would receive more money. The amount would depend on how much the student's school district would have received if they had enrolled in public schools. The amount cannot go over $30,000 per year. Our Capitol correspondent Dylan McKim has a story online now with more details about the bill, including a look at the priority ranking system. That's at KXAN.com.
We take another live look outside the Capitol there along the southern steps. We're expecting more than 250 50 advocates and survivors of domestic violence to march there and gather outside the building this afternoon. They're calling on legislators to prioritize services for victims of violence, including bills to create a special task force to examine the lethality of domestic violence, better response to dating violence among school-age students, and ending coerced debt for survivors.
2 Houston area teens are in police custody today. They're accused of planning a mass casualty attack at a Houston area high school. Police say evidence suggests 2 girls who are teens were putting together a plan to use guns and pipe bombs to harm students at Memorial High School. That's on the west side of Houston. Law enforcement arrested the teens within 30 minutes of becoming aware of their plan. Police did not reveal those teens' identities, but did say one of them is a 16-year-old who attends Memorial. That student is charged with making a terroristic threat. The other student is in custody on unrelated charges. Federal lawmakers are looking for ways to strengthen the safety of children online. This comes as some senators are pushing for the Kids Online Safety Act that is yet to pass Congress.
This is one of the few pieces of federal legislation that does have strong bipartisan support. However, hang-ups remain. The Senate approved the Kids Online Safety Act, but it never made it to the House floor. That legislation, if passed, would put harsher penalties on social media platforms and big tech for abusive material found on their sites. It would also require social media platforms to disable features that make content more addicting to minors.
Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee and Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut authored the bill. They say the federal government has a duty to regulate safety in a digital space, just like it does for cars and other electronics.
In the physical world, there are laws against this. It is only in the virtual space that it remains the Wild West.
If they explode, there is liability for it. It's not free speech to design a defective and harmful product. It's conduct.
It is unclear whether this legislation would make it through Congress and to the president's desk this year.
Birthright citizenship remains the law of the land for now. A federal appeals court declined the Justice Department's request to immediately reinstate President Donald Trump's executive order limiting that. The department asked the Ninth Circuit to grant an emergency stay of a lower court's decision that blocked the order from taking effect. Ultimately, the fate of the birthright citizenship order may be decided at the U.S. Supreme Court.
New this afternoon, fire investigators say the cause of this fire that broke out at a Zilker area condo complex last night was accidental. Video from a KXAN viewer there shows firefighters climbing towards one of the burning units and getting inside to start putting out the flames. There's also this photo of a firefighter carrying a person in their arms. Austin Fire shared the picture on social media, saying firefighters rescued one person there. Now, this fire broke out at the Talisman complex on Barton Springs Road and Lamar.
The Austin Fire Department just reported, though, that it caused over $1 million in damage. The calls started coming in last night at about 7:45, and the fire was brought under control by 9 p.m. The fire impacted 6 units and damaged 4. Austin Fire says that 15 people had to look for a different place to stay on the coldest night of the winter.
Definitely they're not going to be able to come back, especially with the continual freezing temperatures for the next couple days until electricity is restored. That's going to be something that Austin Energy is going to be the determination on that. We will maintain control of the scene until we can make sure that there's no immediately dangerous to life or health aspects. We wouldn't ever let anyone come in there because the last thing we want them is to survive a fire and then go in and have something happen that produced an injury.
Austin firefighters said that 2 people were evaluated by Austin Travis County EMS, but no one else was injured.
We also now know the cause of a Wednesday morning fire in North Austin that knocked out power to more than 400 customers. AFD says the fire was ruled accidental after a space heater was put too close to flammable materials. The fire department says it happened on Buell Avenue at a company that provides construction supplies. They say that building was a total loss.
Investigators have now recovered the black boxes to further look into what happened when a Toronto plane crash did. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board is helping 20 Canadian investigators. Officials inspected the plane yesterday and brought in cranes to clear the plane from the runway. Aviation experts say that investigators will consider conditions on the ground there, the pilot's actions before the landing, and potential problems with the landing gear. The crash was the fourth major aviation accident in North America in recent weeks. Delta Airlines says that every passenger on that plane will be paid $30,000 apiece.
The University of Texas at Austin has a new leader for now. The UT system chancellor says James E. Davis will be UT's new interim president starting right now. Davis currently serves as the university's senior vice president and chief operating officer. He will be replacing Jay Hartzell. Southern Methodist University named Hartzell as its new president last month. Starting next fall, students in Liberty Hill ISD will have more 3-day weekends.
The school board just approved a plan there to add 4-day weeks to the school year. The district says this hybrid approach will give teachers more time to prepare their lessons, reduce fatigue for them, retain high-quality educators, and improve recruitment efforts.
Liberty Hill ISD says teachers need that extra time because of increased workloads, reduced support in the classroom, and larger class sizes. That's because the district is anticipating budget and job cuts in the next school year.
More than 110 Texas school districts moved to a 4-day school week. We have this interactive map on our website right now, KXAN.com, that shows all of the districts that have made that change. Look for it in our KXAN Data Hub.
Basketball fans are in for some fun here in Austin tonight because the San Antonio Spurs are in town for the I-35 series.
Yeah, tip-off for the first of 2 games this week is happening this evening. KXAN's Mercedes Hernandez is joining us live here in the studio with a look ahead to the big game.
Yeah, lots of excitement around tonight and tomorrow night's game. I did get a sneak peek. I was over at the Moody Center early this morning where members of the organization gave us a look inside at the court and everything. The place already had lots of Spurs insignia everywhere, including the court, those courtside seats with the Spurs emblem. Now, this is the 3rd time the Spurs have played in Austin. I spoke with Brandon James, who's the Senior VP of Strategic Growth there. He's played a big part in bringing those games here. He says the Spurs are really investing in Austin and as a co-hometown for the team. James says that comes with making a conscious effort to really buy into the community. He says they're doing that by having fan experiences every day this week leading up to the game, like watch parties and block parties. Tonight there will be a tailgate before the game and a concert after. James says taking the Spurs action to the fans is really what all of this is all about.
Meeting the fans where they're at, and that starts with community, is hugely important to us. As these communities continue to grow together, what we're trying to do is be the catalyst on some of that growth.
And another interesting part about tonight's game against the Phoenix Suns is that Kevin Durant will be back in Austin for the first time since his collegiate career. And tomorrow the Spurs will play the Pistons. So lots of good times to be had.
Yeah, swapping out those Longhorn logos for the Spurs logo.
Exactly.
They've actually been having parties essentially all throughout Austin and San Antonio. This past Sunday they were at Bolden Acres.
Yes.
I was out there with my mom. I was able to take a picture with the Coyote too. Oh, wow. The Coyote was sneaky though, because the Coyote said, "Give me a kiss on the cheek," and he turned at the last second for my mom.
Oh, cheeky. Oh my God.
Made that play.
But you know, we had a lot of fun. So it'll be great to see that. Something that we're also grateful for is that temperatures are heading back up. Take a look at some of these temperatures. 30 degrees in Austin, 29 in Lockhart, 31 in San Marcos, Blanco at 25 right now, 27 in Fredericksburg, and 23 in Lampasas. That extreme cold warning that we had, it's now gone. It did expire at 12 o'clock. I'd been watching to see if it was going to be renewed or changed into anything else. It doesn't look like it. So temperatures are expected to move back up, at least past freezing for Austin. Many other places are going to struggle, like Lampasas. They actually just went back up to 24 just right now. Went up by 1 degree. Wind speeds are one of the reasons why that extreme cold warning is now gone. We're looking at much calmer winds now, down in the single digits in many spots. The strongest winds that we're seeing are Bastrop down to Lockhart and down to San Marcos. All right, so clouds are still trying to make a run for Central Texas. We'll get a few clouds in for the day, but the majority of the mostly cloudy conditions are going to be expected for tonight going into tomorrow. And today we're enjoying sunshine. Tomorrow, all we're going to see is nothing but cloud coverage. So I'll play this out. This is our graph model, our in-house model. This one's saying, well, majority of us will still see some clear conditions, at least through sunset tonight going into tomorrow. And then the clouds will start rolling in. I think it's a mix of the two. We'll start getting a few more clouds. So I'll say partly cloudy as we get to about 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Mostly down towards the south, and then it'll build up as we go farther up towards the north. So we are expected to drop back down into freezing tonight. Tomorrow we'll start off freezing, and then we'll warm up just a tad, but then we'll immediately tumble back down again. It's thanks to this cloud coverage without the sunshine out there. Our temperature is going to struggle to move up, and then, of course, nighttime comes. We get the precipitation that'll roll back in, and getting some freezing rain is a possibility, kicking off at around 10 p.m. on Friday night, mostly as in the form of drizzle. So I'd say anytime after 5 o'clock, just know that you may run into some type of drizzle. As we get to about 10 o'clock, that's when we could start seeing a bit more, especially down towards the south. And as we get to midnight, it really builds up by Saturday morning. There it is, isolated showers here and there. A lot of it's going to be freezing overnight. As we get to about noon on Saturday, mostly spotty showers across the area. That should continue with us throughout all of Saturday, and as we get into Sunday early in the morning, things will calm down. Have a wider look. This is our GFS model, just to show all of the moisture that just flows in from the Gulf and continues to move in. And again, Saturday is going to be our main factor here. As we get into Sunday, things calm down and clear out. Saturday going into Sunday, Sunday going into Monday, Monday to Tuesday, there'll be no rain whatsoever. In fact, the rainfall we do receive looks like it's going to be about 1/4 of an inch, but you get a pocket of heavy showers, we're looking close to 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch. So keep that in mind. Now, 7-day forecast, 30s for today, for tomorrow, 40s as we get out towards Saturday, 60s as we get into Sunday, 70s for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we'll look back on Wednesday and say, wasn't it cold outside?
Welcome back, everyone. Measles continues to spread in West Texas. An infant tested positive in Odessa, the first confirmed case in the city.
The county health department there says that infant is too young to have received the measles vaccine. Public health leaders are working to find people who may have had contact and been exposed to the virus. At least 58 cases are confirmed now, with most of those in Gaines County and at least one in Lubbock. Health leaders suspect the real number of infections, though, is somewhere between 200 and 300. Starting tomorrow, the University of Texas will host science enthusiasts at the Texas Science Festival. The organizers say it will kick off with a seminar on the benefits of school and community gardens. Your kids will learn where their food is coming from and how taking steps to watch what you eat leads to a healthier lifestyle.
I think if a child can plant a seed and grow it, they're much more likely to want to try it. And so that's the first step. To kind of setting these long-term life habits of wanting, eating vegetables. A lot of what we teach kids is not only where their food comes from and how to eat it, but environmental steward concepts like how to grow their own food and how to grow their own food using, systems like hydroponics.
The Texas Science Festival runs until March 6th. On Saturday, UT hosts STEM Girl Day, where students take part in hands-on activities hosted by some science experts.
NASA is reporting the chances of Earth getting hit by an asteroid have gone up. The space agency even described it as a potential city killer. Elena Shirazi shares more about when that asteroid might hit and what could be done to stop it.
NASA calling this asteroid a city killer if it does hit, and the probability keeps on going up. Right now, we are at 3.1%, which is effectively a 1 in 32 chance that it actually would hit Earth. But NASA has tools in their toolbox to examine the scope and magnitude of this asteroid. In March, NASA's James Webb Telescope will start to use its mid-infrared instruments to study the thermal energy, which is essentially another tool in figuring out how the the size of the asteroid and what exactly where it will hit. Officials with NASA tell me the chance of it hitting should get lower as we get closer to 2032, the year this asteroid is projected to hit Earth. NASA officials also have pointed to other asteroids in the past that they have handled with things like the DART mission, also called the Double Asteroid Redirection Test. In 2022, they successfully altered an asteroid's orbit, which would be the first time that humans ever did that. And another fact, the Earth is 70% ocean, and we know that this asteroid's path is likely to hover around an empty ocean. Something reassuring there. In Washington, Alina Shirazi, News Nation.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
We are taking a live look at your state capitol. We are expecting a rally here today with some folks from the American Heart Association on the east lawn of the Capitol. They're going to be discussing cardiac emergency response plans and a bill that's been proposed in the House to try and improve public health outcomes. We know there will also be a resolution recognizing February as Heart Month, so we'll be on the lookout for that.
Just a few of the things happening there. Even though temperatures, of course, here in Austin are frigid, debates are showing no signs of cooling down this week at the Capitol. Here's a bit of a recap. The Senate sent over a suite of bills to the House aimed at keeping certain criminal defendants in jail while they await the outcomes of their cases. Plus, the Texas lottery took fresh heat from state senators who are now wanting to rein in how people can buy tickets. And just this morning, the House finally unveiled its version of a plan that would let families use taxpayer dollars to pay for their children's private school tuition.
Lots happening, and of course we'd like to bring in some experts for insight. Two former lawmakers joining us. Dennis Bonnen here, former House Speaker who represented Southeast Texas, and then over next to Will, Mark Strama, who previously served as a Democratic representative for the Austin area. Welcome back to you both.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, we do want to start with school choice. We saw the House bill filed just this morning, so I think that's the latest thing for our audience. We previously discussed how the Senate has passed its version, but now we're seeing the text of the two bills, and we do see some differences in what's being proposed. That indicates to us it may head to a conference committee where lawmakers will have to hammer out those differences. But our question to you all is, what stands out about those differences? Do you think it's something that lawmakers in the two chambers will be able to overcome in their efforts to pass this, or will there be some insurmountable differences?
No, the differences are not insurmountable. And really on any major issue like this, it really comes down to where there's a will, there's a way. And so the House and Senate will easily be able to resolve whatever differences exist. And the reality of it is, I say this respectfully, a lot of times people want to talk about what the differences are, but I think I would be talking about what the similarities are. You have a Speaker of the House who has been a part of a press conference saying, well, here are our suite of education bills, school finance reform, more money for teachers, more money for public education, and here's school choice too. That's never happened. So that's a big deal. Of course, the Senate has been pushing school choice. The governor's been pushing school choice. So they're a lot closer on the concept and the theory. The difference that I see is that in the House, they prioritized learning disabled children and low-income children in a different way, in a higher way than they did over in the Senate. Both of those are going to get figured out. The Senate did a better job in how to functionally operate the process in the system. They did a better job on the function of payments and the management of those payments, which has been an issue around the country where they've done school choice. Some of the payment systems haven't been handled properly and effectively. So the Senate does a better job than the House does on that. All of these, though, are easily resolved issues between the House and Senate. I think the story of the day is the House is also prioritizing school choice along with education improvement.
Mark, we do know not everyone in the House is on board with this. So any response after looking at the language of the bill?
So it's going to take a while to really understand the detailed differences. Look, I'm not going to argue that that some voucher bill won't pass. It'll probably pass. We've had a 2-year knockdown, drag-out battle in the Republican primaries. We have a large Republican majority in both chambers. They're probably going to pass a voucher bill. The question, but it does matter what's in the details of those bills. And as much as it's definitely the case that the bill will ultimately be written in conference committee, the message of what the conferees are fighting for in conference committee is delivered by the House version of the bill that passes the House. So the debate that's going to occur in the House in the coming weeks matters a lot. And there are huge questions about how the bill might differ from the bill that passed the Senate. How many students will be sent to private schools through these vouchers? How big will the vouchers be? Can they be supplemented by private funds from the family receiving the voucher? To what extent will they prioritize serving low-income and special needs students? I mean, those are really important features of the bill that we won't know until the bill comes off the floor. How will it serve people in rural areas where there isn't a huge infrastructure of private schools to service the vouchers? Will people be able to take it home and use it for homeschooling? I mean, there's just so many details that have to be worked out. And I don't think any of those questions, I don't think the answers to any of those questions are preordained. I think those will be debated on the floor of the House.
There is going to be so much more to discuss on that. And there's been no votes just yet on the House side related to this particular bill. But all of this is all coming together as there is an influence campaign happening both inside the chamber and outside it, with many different groups launching campaigns to try to influence how these lawmakers vote. Given your experiences in this chamber, does that have much impact when you're getting these outside voices kind of shouting at you in many cases, or deriding you or influencing you to vote a certain way? Does it have any impact at all?
It does, done correctly.
Okay.
The shouting doesn't work nearly as well as intelligent conversation. Respectful consideration. I had early in my legislative career, way back when, they shut down my office with faxes. Okay, no one knows what that is anymore.
Flooding them with faxes.
But we were flooded with faxes. We couldn't get anything in, what have you. That didn't make me feel better about their issue. And so I like that example in that it matters, the respectful discourse, the respectful messaging. The best constituent correspondence I ever received was from a gentleman who wrote on a torn out piece of notebook paper saying, "Don't do this. I will be upset if you do this. I don't like this. Please don't do it." That meant a lot, because that showed me this gentleman cared enough to handwrite a poorly stated message, by the way, but I got what he meant. So that messaging matters, but it matters if it's done with intelligence and respect and with sincerity behind it.
Yeah, does that open the door for Democrats to try to wedge in and share their concerns about this?
I mean, the question of how outside groups influence political decision-making is a huge one. There are a lot of different examples. I agree about the vitriolic nature of that communication is generally counterproductive. Volume, numbers matter. Politicians are in the business of counting votes. And the perversion of our system is that today, because most politicians represent gerrymandered districts that are decided in the primary, where fewer than a quarter of the voters participate in the primaries, only half of them vote in your primary, and only half of those are necessary to win. You can get elected to public office with the support of fewer than 10% of the people you represent. Because of that, these mass mobilization campaigns, very targeted constituencies, can have a profound impact, because you don't have to win that many votes to win in a lot of these districts. And so people have to pay attention to them. I think Dennis is right. They can be done well or they can be done poorly. Done well, they can have a lot of influence.
Want to ask you one quick question before we move on to the lottery. We want to save time to discuss that. But speaking of influence, one of the biggest things we've seen with this school choice debate is the influence of the governor, one of his top priorities. We wanted to ask you, we've seen quite the shift in how Governor Greg Abbott is approaching this issue. We've seen lots of conversation on social media, some back and forth. What kind of reaction do you have to that shift in messaging from the state's top leader?
Look, the governor has the right to communicate. And I think that Governor Abbott, I'm not sure I agree there's been a shift, in that Governor Abbott's been clear for years. I want to pass school choice. I want parents to be empowered with their children's educational decisions in Texas. And he's using another tool in the toolbox to deliver that message. And there are times when, honestly, I wish the governor wouldn't respond to some people, because I think he's the governor of Texas, and the old saying is never punch down. I had an issue one time as a legislator, and someone above me acknowledged me, and it made me more important than I probably should have been in that instance. So I would advise the governor to think about some of the time whether that person deserves the acknowledgement of the governor of Texas. But with that said, he is delivering his message through a mechanism now that, let's be candid, everyone walks around, I don't like it, I wish it wasn't happening, but people are obsessed with what comes through that phone, they're obsessed with what comes through that tablet, and they're obsessed with that messaging, and there are fewer and fewer people that get their information elsewhere, they get it there. So the governor's right, he's speaking through the mechanisms that people listen to.
I thought the change you might be referencing was that there's more of a kumbaya sentiment among the Republican leaders in the legislature this time. I saw some crazy Valentine's Day Twitter back and forth with heart-shaped candies.
Elon Musk, Lieutenant Governor, and Speaker Burrows all having a wonderful Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I saw something like that.
Yes. Well, maybe it's also that he's been grabbing certain Democrat lawmakers' tweets and then retweeting them, seemingly refuting what they've been posting about going against that.
You know, look, I mean, back in 2013, when I chaired the House Committee on Technology, I declared that Twitter would go down as the mullet haircut of our times. I thought it was bad for democracy that we were reducing our political discourse to 140 characters. I know now that you can have more and you can pay for even more. I don't generally love the vibe of us debating public policy, complex public policy issues in those forums. On the other hand, that is where the public is consuming information. And so everybody should be getting their message out that way. You know, I think on this issue of vouchers, I mean, I just described a scenario where groups that represent relatively narrow constituencies can have a big impact on the political process because of these gerrymandered districts in which such a small percentage of voters can drive the outcomes of elections. We should all lament that. That is not the way it is supposed to work. That is not the way. That is not what's good for all of us, and that's not what's best for the public education system. I hope that this debate will at some point rise above those types of parochial considerations and look at the most important enterprise we do as a state: educate our children and figure out what's best for them.
And I know that, Avery, you had a really great question about the Texas lottery, because we want to turn the page and focus on that too.
It's tough with these conversations. So much happens before we see you guys on Thursdays. So we wanted to ask you, because we know scrutiny on the Texas lottery system, and for our audience, if you haven't kept up with the drama that's going on with the lottery system, you can find a lot of reporting on KXAN.com. But scrutiny on the system is actually nothing new. Back in 2013, when the two of you all were serving, the chamber, the House actually unexpectedly voted to end the lottery commission.
I was having lunch when that happened and had to come back and fix it.
So give us a bit of historical perspective. We saw the House quickly reverse course and reinstate it. So what happened there, and what can we learn from that situation about what's going on right now?
That was a great example, because I was across the street speaking to a business association with constituents there, and they killed the lottery, and I had to come back and explain to the chair of Pub Ed that was a couple $2 billion that I don't think we had in the budget to take away from public education at that time. And he came to his senses with many other members, and as you pointed out, Avery, quickly that vote got turned. What's really going on right now, though, is that the lieutenant governor is fiercely focused on couriers. He does not like the couriers being able to use the mechanisms that they are to go buy and purchase lottery tickets. The challenge the Lottery Commission is facing is that last legislative session, the Senate passed legislation that would have ended that practice of the couriers being able to operate in Texas. And the House didn't pass that. So there's now still that gray area of whether the couriers are operating legally or not in the process. Obviously, the Lieutenant Governor would say they're not, and they should be stopped, and the Lottery Commission needs to get that done and get it done yesterday. And in that situation, the Lieutenant Governor is doing what he's extraordinarily good at. He's really good at leverage. He's really good at pushing his program, pushing his message. He's one of the best I've ever seen. And so he's saying, I'll just do away with this whole thing. We'll kill the whole thing. And so that's what's really going on there, is the Lieutenant Governor is saying, I don't like this courier process. I told you it was bad. I told you to stop it, and you haven't. And so I'll not only take that away, I'll take the whole thing away.
I mean, once again, I don't think we have the billions of dollars to give back from the public school system. It is money that's dedicated to the public school system. I have mixed feelings about the general proposition. I'm old enough to have been a staffer at the Capitol when we enacted the lottery under Ann Richards as governor. And everybody had mixed feelings about it. It is a tax on people who mistake the odds. It is a tax on people who are not getting much for their dollar. And, you know, as I've followed this story, the one concern I have about it is if investor groups are now able to game the system, through the combination of the courier system and bad odds making, it shouldn't work that way. I mean, in Las Vegas type gambling, the house always wins. It seems like we have done something in the administration of the lottery where it is possible for somebody to game the system, which shouldn't be possible in a well-designed system.
Yeah, and quickly, and with our final few moments, I want to add a little bit more context to this, because you mentioned the Lieutenant Governor going so hard against the Lottery Commission and particularly these couriers, but we have yet to hear anything from Governor Abbott. What do you think about that he's remaining quiet on some of these issues that are bubbling under the surface and making headlines?
Yeah, you just gave him the advice to say less. Now what?
I didn't say less. I said don't punch down.
Yeah.
I think the governor is actually very focused on school choice. I think he's very focused on getting the federal government to get Texas their $11 billion back for the governor leading the legislature to secure the border. It's one of the skills that I think Governor Abbott has, and I think it's what makes Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick great partners. Governor Patrick is extraordinary at driving and delivering a message. Governor Abbott is really good at not worrying about getting involved in every last message. And so I think Governor Abbott's probably focusing on school choice, focusing on getting the money back for the border, and he is going to let the legislative process work itself out. This is between the House, between the Senate, and yes, the Lottery Commission. But the Lottery Commission, I think, feels like the stuck duck in the middle, saying someone pass a bill and I'll follow it. But right now that hasn't happened. And so I think the governor's just wisely doing what smart governors do, not jumping in the middle of every issue during a legislative session. You let legislators work through that, and then you decide whether you sign the bill or you don't sign the bill.
I mean, all I would add to that is it does feel like this is an issue that needs hearings. I mean, the legislature has a process for getting to the bottom of a complex issue like that. There has been a lot of reporting on it, but I don't know that most lawmakers feel, and the governor may not feel, that we know everything we need to know. And there will be a lot of hearings, and the process is set up to be pretty good at fact-finding.
We could keep you here forever. Lots more to discuss. But thanks to both of you for making time. And a reminder for our audience, they'll be joining us every Thursday to break down what's going on behind the scenes at the Capitol. We do want to get over to Freddie Vela. He's got a quick check for what's going on outside in those cold temperatures.
Yeah, temperatures right now still in the 30s and 20s out there. We're going to have more on what to expect for tonight coming up.
First warning weather with meteorologist Freddie Vela.
So we take a look right now at satellite and radar. Clouds trying to make their way back in. Lockhart to San Marcos, Dripping Springs, Blanco, and Fredericksburg. Tomorrow morning temperatures are dropping down once again into the freezing territory. Not like we're out of freezing right now, but as we go on to tomorrow morning, we'll be back down in freezing. 26 in Austin, 23 in Marble Falls, 22 in Fredericksburg, 20 degrees in Mason, 20 in San Saba tomorrow morning, and 25 overall down towards the south. Rain chances do pick up as well from Friday going into Saturday. It's mostly going to be the overnight hours that we're going to be watching for the rain chances to pick up. Take a look at satellite and radar over the next couple of days. You're able to see the clouds coming back in. We talked about that, but look at what happens as we get out towards tomorrow. We'll start here at 2 p.m. on Friday. Moisture flows back in. That gives us a chance of seeing some rain. And as we get into later on in the evening, that means that we could see some drizzle, even freezing rain out there. Played out to midnight. More of that moisture flows back in. There's a chance for that freezing rain to continue. That filters through as we get out towards Saturday around noon. That will be below freezing, and rain chances continue through most of Saturday, going out towards Sunday. And as you get out towards Sunday overnight, things start to clear out as well. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. 37 for Thursday, 36 for Friday, 41 for Saturday, 61 as we get into Sunday. By Monday, 74 degrees, and by Tuesday, 76 as we see a few more clouds rolling back in and we say goodbye to freezing as we get past Sunday morning.
A quick traffic alert for you here. TxDOT is closing both the northbound and southbound lanes of I-35 near Slaughter Lane. This will happen in just about 5 minutes. They'll be doing an emergency utility line repair there. Road crews say the closure shouldn't last any longer than about 20 minutes, but you should be on the lookout for some major traffic delays in this area.
That's not the only camera we want to show you. We also want to show you out towards High Texas through our Covington Cellars camera, and that's because the clouds have started to roll back in. What does that mean for you? Well, unfortunately, without the sunshine, temperatures are going to struggle. Your temperatures tonight should be down to about 26 degrees. Winds coming in from the north-northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and your 7-day forecast brings back freezing conditions for tonight, tomorrow night, and that's it. However, tomorrow night is going to be a very trying time for us. Oh, that's not the right word. We just got to watch out for Friday to Saturday because we're going to have some rain coming in. Could be freezing rain as well, so just keep that in mind if you're making any plans for Friday night.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching this afternoon. We'll be back in a half hour with another update. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Take care.